Hi there, this is Bill, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to quickly deploy a Devkit so that you can get up and running and building and developing and debugging as quickly as possible. So I had an issue this weekend where my Devkit decided to die on me. We had a power hit in the lab, and for some reason the file system is not coming back again. You can see here on the screen that I have an issue where it's not even able to start a file system check, and that's never a good sign. Well, I can probably do some data mining on that during the week, but for now, I would just rather deploy a new Devkit, so that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the Devkit that's broken because I'm going to reuse that IP address. And then secondly, I will deploy the OVF. The OVF that I'm using is from LG LAF 020, which is the internal ViPR Devkit repository. And I'm using Devkit 14 right now, not because it's the latest, because it's not. I'm using it because it's been reliable. So I'm going to give it a name. And I like to put my name in the name of all my Devkits so that people using Virtual Center can quickly figure out that it's mine. And then the rest of the parameters in here shouldn't be terribly confusing to anybody. If you are new to deploying Devkits, then I guess it would be mystifying, but it is not in my case. I am on the LG LW subnet, so I'm going to take that network constraint. And then this is where the rubber hits the road right here. I have to apologize, my typing is not as efficient on a tiny little laptop keyboard. And then we get that deploying. Alright, it is almost finished deploying. And naturally we want to turn it on. So we'll power that on. Now while that's on, what we're going to do is take a quick look at the kickstart script that I used to deploy a Devkit quickly and get it ready for development. Some of the things that it does is it will make the working directories for your code. It will it'll zipper in Samba so that you can provide UNC mount points on your Windows or Mac box to be able to access your Devkit file systems remotely. It'll download all the tooling, so Kill Service, WinStart, LogM, Restore and Save DB, and Clear.sh are all tools that you would like to use on your Devkit. It'll do all the git config variables. It'll make a couple of little touches along the way to make sure that you don't fill up your file system with audit logs. And it will download all the code so that you can perform a build immediately. And then finally, it'll create a symbolic link of sanity.conf in your own in the CoprHD repository so that you're not constantly writing an absolute path to the ViPR EMC repository when you're running sanity scripts. So what I like to do is I like to select all and copy this. By now, our Devkit should be up, so we'll try to log into it. And I go into temp, and I just echo out the contents of that kickstart. I'll give it a execution chmod property, and then I'll run it. And I'll run it against one of my other well-known, well-used Devkits. It's going to ask me some questions to get zipper initialized, so I'll just say yes to all those questions. Now it's grabbing all the tooling from the other system. So I'm just providing the password to the other system. And now it's performing a clone. It's downloading all the code. Alright, it downloaded all the code for CoprHD. Now it's asking me for my credentials for the internal database, ViPR EMC. And it cloned all of that. The last thing I want to do is I want to go into bashrc, and I want to make sure that the Devkit fully qualified domain name is correct. And you could always just put localhost in there if you want. I tend to be a little more specific, but that's okay. You can do it either way. And also, since the database has not changed yet, it's still called change me, the password. I'm going to keep that in there the way that it is as well. So those are the only two changes I'm going to make to the bashrc. Then I'm going to source it. And at that point, I'm in pretty good shape. I can use all the tools. So I just typed in CLI, which is going to put me directly into the Python test directory. I can type build. I can say when you're done building, install it, clean the database, and then I can say let me know when you're done and the services are all up. So when start is a utility that will let you know when the services are up. So I'm going to run that right now. And I'm going to hit pause, and I'll come back when the when start script is started. Okay, so at this point we have performed a build. So you can see up here the build was successful. And then we installed the build. And then my specific script, when it did that INS space capital C, it also moves some files around, rejiggers some files to make sure that you're able to do your debugging of some of the critical services that core controller usually cares about. So it will do all of that, which involves starting and stopping the services a little bit. And then finally, it will, what I typed in is when start, and when start is a utility that will wait for the services to come online before it gives control back to the command line. And this is really useful if you are going to get up and go someplace, or you're going to work in some other window for a while. You can always type when start, semicolon, and then whatever command you want it to run when the services are up. And you don't have to worry about getting a bunch of 503 errors or anything like that, or too many logins, or a big mess on your screen. It's a pretty civilized way to wait for services to come up. And so we're doing that right now. The first thing it does is it checks for the API service to come up, and once that comes up, it does log scrubbing to check to see when the controller service has hit a specific point where it's ready for action. And so it's done that. So now the services are up, and so I'm ready at this point. So at this point, I can go into I can type CLI, which puts me into the Sanity directory. I can type login, which will log me in as the root provider. So if I wanted to run as the Sanity provider, for instance, I could type Sanity. Well, I don't have a Sanity user right now because I haven't run Sanity, so so I'm not going to be able to run that. If I wanted to run a Sanity test, I could run a Sanity test. I have sanity.conf sitting right in this directory because it happens to be a symbolic link to my ViPR EMC directory, and I could run localhost quick, for instance. But that's the important thing, is that very quickly we're able to get all of our utilities up and running. We're able to build and install, and I'll have subsequent videos for being able to do remote debugging and so on. But this is everything you need to get your Devkit up and running and deployed and running. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you next time.